Coming up on UCF Nightly News, UCF police are working on ways to put garage hit-and-run accidents to an end.
Plus, Orange County is making a way to help pedestrians cross roads more safely. But oddly enough, it's through your phone.
And if you're in the market to buy some dirt, UCF is now in the business.
In sports, tomorrow the Knights face off against the SMU Mustangs. Stay tuned to find out what one player wants to avoid this weekend.
Nightly News starts in 30 seconds. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Nightly News. I'm Evan Abramson.
And I'm Kenzie Hicks. And in the news on this Friday, October 5th, 2018.
Police say they're seeing more hit-and-run accidents on campus, and now they're working on new ways to crack down on the issue. Since the start of the fall semester, nearly 40 car accidents have been reported to the UCF Police Department. Now they want to introduce license plate readers as a new crime-fighting project. Many students, like Ricardo Aviles, believe security cameras inside garages will help cut down on the number of hit-and-runs.
The cameras in the garage, you could actually see who did it and know what time it happened, and they could be responsible for what they did instead of making the student or staff or whatever go through that experience.
UCF PD says for now, drivers need to use a little extra caution and to also be a little more caring and considerate.
Orange County officials completed a pedestrian study focused on the UCF area due to an increasing amount of pedestrian-involved accidents.
The study began in 2014 to collect data to improve safety for pedestrians around the UCF area. Nightly News reporter Cassidy Delamarta tells us more about the improvements UCF, Orange County, and FDOT are designing. Cassidy?
That's right, Evan. The study started back in 2014, and the data is being used to design safety improvements around UCF. It evaluated a total of 4.6 miles of roads surrounding UCF, including University Boulevard from Rouse Road to Alafaya Trail, McCulloch Road north from Orion Boulevard to North Tanner Road, and Alafaya Trail from Challenger Parkway to McCulloch Road. The data shows the Alafaya Trail has 4 times the statewide pedestrian crash average per 100 million vehicle miles. And more than 36% of bicyclists and pedestrians violated street crossings. Now that the study is complete, officials plan to move forward with the design and construction. Phase 1 improvements total in about $2.9 million, with short-term improvements like pedestrian scale lighting and a 10-foot wide pedestrian-wide bike path on the east side of Alafaya Trail. But Orange County engineers say those improvements will take another 3.5 years. And that's why I spoke to Orange County Chief Engineer Hazim El Assar, who says they just started working on a unique pedestrian and driver-friendly app set to launch next year.
When you have this app downloaded on your phone, drivers will be aware of your presence as you approach the intersection. And in addition to that, equipment will be installed at those traffic signals to allow you to cross the street without having to push a button.
The app will be incorporated into the current UCF mobile app. Some of the features include alerting drivers when a pedestrian is crossing the road, alerting drivers how many seconds before a light changes color, and it will even allow the drivers of emergency vehicles to change the color of the light so they can cross an intersection quickly and safely. UCF PIO Courtney Gilmartin told me drivers should be aware that UCF is a pedestrian, bicyclist, and skateboarder-friendly campus. And those travelers also must follow the rules of the road, which include obeying traffic signals and looking both ways before crossing the street. Back to you, Kenzie and Evan.
Lime bikes on campus are getting some major social media attention, but mostly for how they're mistreated. Nightly News reporter Emily Anderson tells us these problems aren't keeping the company from doing business with UCF.
An Instagram account, a Twitter account, and a Reddit thread, all dedicated to posting photos of these bikes in odd places. And they each have hundreds of followers. Yara Watson, a coordinator at the UCF Office of Sustainability Initiatives, says the issue isn't as big as it seems.
It's been fairly positive. I think sometimes negative voices can feel loud when they're amplified by social media, but most of the feedback we get is really great. Students are happy to have an alternative transportation method that can get them somewhere fast.
Lime Bike has partnerships with 24 other college campuses and cities nationwide, and behavior like this is not uncommon. Jed Fluxman, the general manager of Lime, Florida, says the company is aware that students park bikes in ways and locations that are less than optimal. Fluxman highlights a feature in the Lime app to report these bad parking habits and video resources like these on their website. But there are no consequences for those who park these bikes inappropriately. But this hasn't stopped Lime Bike from staying partners with our campus.
We've just greenlit an additional 100 bikes to come onto campus. At the next transportation swap meeting, we'll be taking a look at whether or not we'll bring on electric assist models, both bicycles and scooters.
These 100 new bikes will be on campus within the next few weeks. In Orlando, Emily Anderson, UCF Nightly News.
UCF and Lime Bike are also working on adding a survey on the Lime app for riders to give feedback.
UCF created a recipe for Martian soil on Earth, and the dirt is being used for studies to help NASA, SpaceX, and Blue Origin. Nightly News reporter Jessica Herman tells us what this dirty deal is all about.
UCF physics professor Dan Britt and his team of students make experimental dirt. Space agencies all over the world are trying to be the first to grow life on Mars. But in order to do so, there needs to be more research. That's why Britt and his team are selling Mars dirt.
NASA wants to go to Mars eventually. So we've already sold a fair amount of it to NASA to do experiments in plant growth, for instance.
Thanks to data sent back from NASA's Curiosity rover, UCF researchers have been able to manufacture soil that is extremely close to the kind found on Mars.
The reason we do this is to catalyze more science and make it more profound and more universal. And so make the whole process of getting to Mars a little bit easier.
UCF mechanical engineer undergrad student Cody Schultz works under Dr. Britt.
Schultz says because they created this Mars dirt and others, it gives UCF a seat at the table when taking part in other space missions.
It's a way for us to get involved and also do some really cool science along the way. For NASA, it's another resource for them to make use of, right? So they're a big recipient of all the work that we do and the material that we make.
Dr. Britt says he expects to see significant learning happening from access to this material. In Orlando, Jessica Herman, UCF Nightly News.
UCF is selling its dirt to the public if you're an educator or a researcher. If you want to buy a kilogram, the dirt costs $20 plus shipping and handling. Well, now that we're done with Mars, let's see what's going on this planet.
It's starting to seem a little cooler in the mornings, but we're still seeing blazing Florida afternoons. Alex, what's going on outside right now?
Yeah, Evan and Kinsey, well, you're right that we are seeing those blazing afternoons coming in, but this morning it was actually quite nice outside. We have a look that we're going to look at with the reflecting pond here on the UCF campus. Really gorgeous shot there. It was beautiful and sunny. A few clouds there in the sky, but overall mostly a crystal clear blue sky there. We're going to take a quick look at our current conditions. So right now it is 91 degrees out and our humidity is at 94%. However, that humidity is going to stay there in the air because it is a 0% chance of rain for today. The winds are not really helping with the temperature and humidity, 3 miles per hour out of the north. Now back to Evan and Kinsey at the desk.
Thanks, Alex. Hopefully we start seeing the fall effects of fall sooner. In some sporting news, we got to meet the UCF student who's on the USA Olympic weightlifting team.
Plus, we'll find out how students are using UCF services to battle depression.
October is National Depression Education and Awareness Month. Last year, CAPS and at UCF reported more than 50% of students had depression-like symptoms. Nightly News spoke to members of the UCF community to see how they're coping with it.
Oh, is this just for sick people? Is this for me? Aren't I normal?
Victor Perez is a UCF graduate who suffered from depression. So did his friend Josh.
We were all trying to go through college together, so we all had our struggles and everything, but it seemed like Josh just kind of wanted to give up out of nowhere.
Things took a turn for the worst.
We were told by the police that he had taken his own life.
Now, Victor and Josh's mom are working on new ways to get people suffering from depression the help they need.
They're creating benches in memory of Josh, kind of like these, but they'll be yellow and wooden, and they'll have plenty of resources on them for people who are suffering from depression. But for those who need help now, you can find those resources at Counseling and Psychological Services here on campus.
The most common problems that we see are anxiety and depression.
Corey Safra is a psychologist here at CAPS. He says CAPS has multiple resource groups to help out students here on campus.
We have different outreaches. We have outreaches about depression. We have outreaches like adjusting to college.
Those outreach programs help students like Brooke Carter.
Through CAPS, through the psychiatrists here, it got to the point where even when I'm at my worst, I have the coping techniques that I can use.
She says before CAPS, she didn't realize how bad her depression was.
I just looked in a mirror at one point and I genuinely had no clue who was staring back.
Brooke and Victor say CAPS helped them to see they're not alone.
Nowadays, I think everybody knows, there are a lot of people struggling with mental health issues.
And that it's okay to reach out for help. In Orlando, Olivia Parsons, UCF Nightly News.
Right now, Victor and Josh's mom are working to put yellow benches on school campuses everywhere. Victor says those benches will be a safe zone and a place for people suffering to find help.
It's National LGBTQ History Month, and UCF is celebrating in a big way. Throughout the month of October, the UCF Multicultural Student Center and LGBTQ+ services are putting on a number of events. Some of the big ones will be National Coming Out Day, giving students the opportunity to show the world their true selves. All of the events are leading up to the Orlando Gay Pride Parade on October 13th.
UCF's DACA students are fighting for more financial aid opportunities. Now they are lobbying for legislative changes. Paying for tuition can be tough for nearly all college students. DACA recipients cannot receive university funds, federal or state aid, according to UCF's Office of Student Financial Assistance. SGA student body president Joshua Balana is a dreamer who was born in Ecuador. Balana is working to help fellow dreamers gain equal access to financial aid.
Pretty much creating a master list of all the services provided to undocumented students by all universities. So for example, if Florida Gulf Coast has a service they provide to their students, we find out about it, there's a potential we implement it here.
In the meantime, students with DACA status can visit the dream.us for scholarships and other resources.
The 51st session of UCF Student Government Senate met for the first time. Last night, more than 20 new members were sworn in and then voted in their first meeting as SGA senators. One of the Senate's responsibilities oversees an annual budget of nearly $20 million. New Senate President, Junior Political Science and Legal Studies double major Sierra Scott is one of those politicians involved with budget decisions. Scott defeated 3 opponents for the position with 38 out of the 55 votes cast. The Senate President oversees, coordinates, and facilitates the Senate's activities. Scott says she's working towards spreading awareness of SGA and looking for ways to increase student engagement.
Students really need to know who their representatives are, because we're the ones that are trying to get students' voice out there. We're the ones that are representing everyone through their college, and we're trying to make sure that we're listening to every single voice that is heard.
The Senate also elected Forrest McLennan as its president pro tempore, while also naming senators to their committees for the coming year. The SGA Senate meets in the Student Union every Thursday at 7 p.m.
Tropical storm Leslie is heading toward the northeast.
Alex is live in the studio with an update on the tropics.
Thanks, Kinsey and Evan. So we don't have a whole lot to worry about with Tropical Storm Leslie right now. So it is moving north-northwest at about 9 miles per hour with maximum sustained winds of 65 miles per hour. However, it is actually projected to move away out into the Atlantic and dissipate without making much major landfall. So looks like another bullet that we've dodged. Hope we can continue doing that. Now back to Kinsey and Evan at the desk.
Said coming up we're checking back in with Alex for a look at the 5-day forecast.
Plus, is Whitaker going to jump into the reflection pond? We'll get you that update after the break.
(2020 or 2024), one of UCF's very own Cameron Michener has his eyes on making a U.S. Olympic team. Nightly News caught up with Michener and his coach to see what they're doing to train.
Cameron Michener just got back from Manizales, Colombia, where he gained a spot on Team USA for the Junior Pan American Games. Michener missed the podium in earning an international medal by 1 kilogram. Taking 4th place, he says it's only driving him to go harder.
It was bitter at the time, but looking back on it now, I think it's going to be beneficial going into the future. It's a great learning experience rather than medaling, maybe getting satisfied, not working as hard.
Michener says he'll be competing at national level meets every 12 to 16 weeks as he continues to try and make international teams. He says competing at the international level is the only shot he has at making it to the Olympics. Inside AMP training is where Michener truly committed himself to weightlifting 4 years ago with the help of former coach Andrew Maddox. Maddox is the owner of AMP Training. He's been coaching there for 5 years and Michener for the past 4. Maddox says Michener is the hardest working athlete he's ever met.
He's a hard-working individual. He wants to be the best in the world. As far as he can take it, his mindset is nothing's going to stop him, and I believe that. I'm on board with him. I don't think anybody can beat him when Cam is on his game. Cam is one of the best.
With the 2020 and 2024 Olympics on his and his coach's mind, Michener says he can only go up from here. Michener's next meet is October 27th in Vero Beach, Florida. His next national meet is the American Open Finals on December 8th in Milwaukee.
Well, student attendance may have never been more important here at UCF for football. Earlier in the year, Vice President and Athletics Director Danny White challenged President Dale Whitaker. If 50,000 students showed up to the UCF football game between now and the start of the season and homecoming, then President Whitaker would have to join UCF students in the annual Spirit Splash. Well, students are close, tallying 35,563 thus far. Only about another 14,500 students are needed. So if you want to see how a UCF president handles going duck hunting in Orlando, then make your way out to a UCF game. And while on the subject of UCF football, I think I speak for everyone when I say we'd like to avoid another painfully hot day out of Spectrum Stadium.
I don't know. Isn't it going to be really hot? Alex, what are the temperatures looking out for the next 5 days?
Thanks, Kinsey and Evan. So we're actually going to take a look at our temperatures for Orlando and all our neighbors throughout the state. So our high in Tallahassee is 92 degrees. In Jacksonville, it's 88. In Tampa and Orlando, 91 degrees for our high. And down in Miami, it is 88 degrees for our high. Now looking at our lows throughout the state of Florida, getting a little bit more fall-like, especially in Tallahassee with a low of 68 degrees, 73 in Jacksonville, Orlando, and Tampa, and also a low of 80 degrees down in Miami. Now we're going to take a look at our 5-day forecast. So for Saturday and Sunday, it's a high of 90 with lows in the mid-70s, and the temperatures remain about the same for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. High 80s to low 90s for our highs, mid-70s for the lows, low to mid chances of rain throughout the rest of that week. Now back to Kinsey and Evan at the desk.
Thanks, Alex. Well, make sure to stick around as Nathaniel Rivas tells us more about what happened at last night's women's soccer game.
Plus, the Knights basketball team is getting ready to start up the season. One of the guards says they are shooting for the NCAA tournament this year.
Welcome back, everybody, and thanks for sticking with us. I'm Nathaniel Rivas. Let's jump right in. 4-0, and the Knights are ready to get back into conference play. The first 7 consecutive conference matchups begins tomorrow night at 7 p.m. against the SMU Mustangs. Last week, the Knights defeated the ACC's Pittsburgh Panthers 45-14. The win was enough to boost UCF up 1 spot in the most recent AP Top 25 poll from 13 to 12. The Mustangs are 2-3 this year and are also winless on the road. It doesn't help that the Mustangs trail in the all-time series against UCF 7-1. And after another strong showing from the offense, the Knights could be poised for another big game. The women's soccer team lost 2-1 in overtime to the East Carolina Pirates last night. This was the team's first American Athletic Conference matchup at home this season. The Knights took 18 shots in the match, but only 5 shots were on goal. Sophomore Stephanie Sanders continues to shine for the Knights. One of her 8 shots found the back of the net. Senior goalkeeper Vera Virus recorded 3 saves, all in the second half of the game. Coach Tiffany Roberts-Sahadak says she is proud of the team despite the loss. A team that was plagued by injuries last year now thinks they have all the tools for a great season. The UCF's men's basketball team is back, and its season is right around the corner. Head coach Johnny Dawkins is now in practice mode, and BJ Taylor, Taco Fall, and Aubrey Dawkins are ready for action. The first match comes with a 7 p.m. tip-off against Flagler College at home on October 29th. From there, all eyes are on a conference title and a taste of some March Madness. Now that's all the sports news for today. I'm Nathaniel Rivas. Back to you, Evan and Kinsey.
Appreciate it, Nathaniel. That's all the time we have for right now. Thank you for joining us. Remember, you can always keep up with us during the week on our Twitter at UCF Nightly News.
And if you've got a story idea you want us to know about, send it our way. You can reach us at nightlynews@gmail.com.
Thanks for watching, and stay tuned. Coming up after this, we're watching a special nightly Latino show called Cuba, Art and Soul.